Hey everyone. Okay, so I decided that I was going to make a video for um, the Transfemvoices thing. And basically, I don't know, it kind of seems like I'm late a bit, but I'm late to everything, so it is appropriate for me to, in fact, be late to something. This, as in all things in life that I am late to. Um, so I have a couple of particular thoughts about the whole Transfemvoices concept. Um, Particularly, I will say I'm really glad that um, the majority of what I've seen so far that is um, expressing the idea of and practicing the articulation of trans femme voices is an idea of being open and affirming and accepting and trying to express our own individual experiences. Because there are a few different types of ideology that, as trans women, we are essentially being expected to conform to by one group of people with one ideology or another group of people with another ideology. There's the idea that has been pushed by a lot of rad femmes that trying to feminize our voices is a way that we are, appropriating womanhood, or putting ourselves into a stereotypical construction of identity and behaviors and everything, and in doing so upholding the the gender binary or whatever, which is unfortunate because that's a really harmful idea, in the sense that you're essentially blaming people who are subjugated by the overall system of gender for their own subjugation. Because, we as trans women didn't create the standards that we are judged by. The standards for femininity that we're judged by, are a thing that have, at least in the Western world, have gradually evolved over the past, few centuries. Well, obviously, I guess you could say that the grand scheme of cultural development which led to gender actually comprises all of human history. But the point is that there is a very specific cultural context for what is occurring. And by specifically we're subject to emotional violence, either directly and intentionally by people who are like, oh, you sound like a man, therefore you are a man and you should yada yada yada, etc., etc. That is a direct type of emotional violence. And then the more subtle kinds of emotional violence are when I pick up the phone and I answer it and I'm like, hello, and someone says, hello, sir, based specifically from hearing the sound of my voice. That's something that isn't necessarily, in a lot of cases, is not intentional on their part, but it still causes me, emotional distress, because it's it's reaffirming the way that I'm perceived by society, and so that's one strain of thought. And then another strain of thought is that if trans women do not feminize our voices, and this one is also one I've seen from radfems as well as whatever various fucking people. If we do not feminize our voices, if we do not make an effort to perform femininity in voiced context at every time, then we like lose our conditional right of being considered women. I mean, I've definitely seen this happen. I do feel that I won't really get into it, but I do feel that this has happened to me. There's a lot of contextual stuff to that, but the point is that neither of these are any better than another. They're both essentially setting us up to fail because they're just completely callous towards us. I mean, yeah, and the way that you see some of these standards internalized by the trans community, where like the ideas themselves didn't originate inside of like the whatever transgender community. And by a transgender community, I mean like combining, you know, social spaces, social media, the, you know, academia, the medical industry. So like, it's all of the places where we as trans people like generally are grouped together like loosely by various like societal ways. Like within the trans community, there are a lot of harmful ideas about trans women's voices that have been internalized from like other sources of standards regarding trans women voices. So yeah, like, I mean, I've seen trans women call other trans women like male or like particularly transmisogynistic slurs like the T slur because they spoke in because they didn't like speak in a way that conformed perfectly to femininity. And that's really fucked up. That's really fucked up. And like, it's the thing about voices, as well as a lot of other aspects of like, you know, the trans woman body, I guess. It's something that is influenced by, it's something that's influenced by your culture. It's influenced by your particular like linguistic influences. So, you know, if you're Hungarian American, if you're Japanese American, if you're, you know, if you have some other cultural influence on the way that you speak that like that were like you were raised to have an accent, or if you you know, have gone between multiple different cultures for a lot of time, and so like you have the ability to, you know, code switch between different dialects, and so like already within these first couple variables of, you know, what makes up the entirety of a person's voice in English is really complicated. But like moving on, other things that comprise your voice are like the, you know, the quintessential voice, the the conceptual like voice that you have overall in your life. There's like your resonance, and your resonance, like, that's something that's influenced by the anatomy of your head, neck, and chest. So those aren't things which can easily be changed. And that's particularly something that I've seen very very stigmatized, is people have a very negative opinion towards you as a trans woman if you have like a chest resonant voice. Like, I mean, I don't know, if I talked like this all the time, I feel like I would not be gendered correctly all the time. And this next item is a little bit sensitive, but any speech defects, well, I guess to say disabilities of speech, or various developmental disorders, neurodevelopmental conditions, mental illnesses, these things can greatly affect the way that you speak, because we're including within the way that you speak both your ability to match people's tone, which is something that is harder to do if you don't have as good an ability to pick up nonverbal social cues. So that's something that's related to your neurotype, as well as being actually aware of the voice that you're speaking in. That's definitely something that is significantly linked to a lot of neurotypes. So if you are not neurotypical, no, that's too general. If you are neurodivergent and you have one or various symptoms or conditions that affect your voice, if you are physically disabled and this affects the way that you speak, these are all things that make your voice less conventionally acceptable by typical societal standards. And so if you're a trans woman and you don't have you don't constantly have this social energy to speak at a higher pitch than you would normally default to, if you don't have the social energy all the time to pay attention to the mannerisms that you're using in your speech, then these are all things that count against you. So all of the things that comprise speech, this is a highly politicized group of variables. So speech is something that is it's extremely connected to a lot of really fundamental aspects of you as a person. So basically, why I went on about all of those is because if we accept fucked up standards about the way that trans women are allowed to speak, then we are accepting a truly toxic attitude towards all of these things that comprise trans women's personal histories. Well, personal histories, cultures, languages, nationalities, disabilities, neurotypes, etc. These are things that we can't afford to just throw away in for the political goal of like having a large, very like conventional looking group of cis-passing trans women that you can go off and show the world how respectable we all are. But on the other hand, I do think that I wouldn't want to ever like put a blanket discouragement on like vocal feminization training, because I mean it's one of the things about being a trans woman that it gets you very mistreated. And I mean I know many trans women who are very dysphoric about their voices, and so they want to take control of that. They want to like have some measure of effect and agency over that in order to become more comfortable in like a day-to-day functioning. And I think that's something that should be supported. And I mean, hell, that the ability to access that in and of itself is politicized, because it's not everyone. I don't know how much it costs for like a vocal feminization like treatment therapy thing, but it's definitely not cheap, and it's still something that is, I'm sure, not covered on like any insurance plan ever. Well, whatever. I mean, it might be covered on some insurance plans, I don't really know. But if you're on a plan that's very like bare bones, then obviously it's not going to be covered. So the point is that that's not even like a universally acceptable, like universally accessible like thing for trans women to even try to do. So you can't hold it up as this thing that like we all have like a duty to go into, or something that we are all like obviously going to do, because it's not universal, and it shouldn't be universally required. That being said, I have nothing but the utmost care for like trans women who have gone through speech feminization or whatever therapy thing, because like if that was something that was a rewarding experience for you in terms of your own like gendered experience and mental health, I can't say anything other than like congratulations, I'm happy for you. I have no idea if I will ever do that. I have no idea, because I'm not sure if it would be, I don't know what kind of like results I would get or whatever. I don't know if it would just be like too upsetting and I couldn't do it. I don't know. I mean, right now I'm not looking to like budget something like that. That's too precarious. Not that precarious is totally the wrong word. I don't know why I said that. Costly, expensive. Anyway, yeah. That's all. That's all, folks.